Hey everyone, I'm Army Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is Shannara's Bodyguard. When General Shannara started receiving threats from the Nature Army, she knew it was time to bring in someone to watch her back. And who could do it better than this magic monster? He has defeated over 1,000 monsters without getting a single scar. And so here we have Shannara's Bodyguard, the newest and latest magic legendary monster, and the newest and latest bodyguard. And as of the time recording this video, there's a total of 36 magic legendary monsters, so I'm going to be comparing Shannara's Bodyguard mainly to those monsters. But you should also know that Shannara's Bodyguard is also in the Spirits book, so I'm going to do my best to compare Shannara's Bodyguard with those monsters. And then lastly, he's also in the Team Wars book, which currently consists of 23 legendary monsters, which are all generals, their pets, and their bodyguards. And so let's start off with power. Shannara's Bodyguard has a power of 3432, which is the 8th highest power stat for magic monsters, actually tied with Cassandra, so it's a pretty good power stat. And as for his life, it's 38906, which is the highest life stat for any magic legendary monster. That's right, Bowtie, you have lost your place. He actually beat Bowtie by almost 5,000 points. Bowtie has a life stat of 3480, so 38906, that's a lot more life than Bowtie. And what's even more impressive is that when taking into account every single monster that's ever been released, every single legendary monster in Monster Legends, Shannara's Bodyguard has the 5th highest life stat. The only 4 monsters that have a higher life stat than Shannara's Bodyguard are Agursis, Okiawa, Tenkirion, and Oros. And so Shannara's Bodyguard has more life than even all these crazy nemesis monsters being released with crazy stats. So an amazing life stat. And then unfortunately, as is usually the case with monsters that have a high tanky HP, they tend to be kind of slow. In this case, he's really slow. 3377, this puts him in 31st place for magic legendary monsters. Keep in mind, there's only 36 magic legendary monsters, so there's only 5 monsters that exist that are slower than him. And so in a nutshell, a high power, an amazing life, and a slow speed. However, in this monster specifically, with this tank, his speed stat doesn't matter that much. Or, I don't know if I should say that, it does matter, but it doesn't really affect him because even though he's a tank, I'll explain later on, just keep watching this video because you're going to want to hear what I have to say about Shannara's Bodyguard. As for his trait, he's immune to stun, and this is an amazing trait to have, especially for this monster, especially being a magic monster and in the Spirits book. And this is why I'm saying it doesn't really matter that his speed is 3377. So when we look at the Spirits book, or when we look at magic monsters, let's start with magic monsters. Uru and Cassandra, they're the fast magic monsters with an AoE stun skill, so they can immobilize you with stunning. In the Spirits book, there's Tempest, there's Uru, and there's the new nemesis monster Lum. Lum also has an AoE stun skill, so if you ever face an Uru, a Cassandra, a Lum, and they're faster than you, say they have better runes than you, guess what? Even if they do their stun skill, it doesn't matter. Shannara's Bodyguard can't be stunned. And then later when we talk about skills, this becomes even more significant. So you know what, let's just head on over to skills. And let's start off with the ultimate attack, Battle Mage form. Removes all negative status effects and applies triple damage to itself, heals itself by 100%, gives extra turn to itself. What the heck is this ultimate attack? It is one of the most powerful ultimate attacks. First of all, it removes all negative effects. So even if you're blinded, if you're dazed, if you had a DLT that was going to kill you, guess what? Those negative effects are completely gone, and you heal yourself all the way to 100%, and you give yourself triple damage for the next 2 turns. Not even for 1 turn, for the next 2 turns, but even more so, you give yourself an immediate extra turn. What does this mean? This means that on the next attack, that extra turn, you have the potential to wipe out all of the enemy monsters, because later on you're going to see this monster has a 45 damage AoE. Triple damage plus 45 damage AoE, that is a recipe for devastation. The only thing that would have made this skill better is if it had increased accuracy, or if it gave you back all of your stamina. Because obviously, if you have no stamina to use, you're not going to be able to attack the next turn. But regardless, you get your life back, you get triple damage, you get an extra turn. This ultimate attack is just phenomenal. And because of this ultimate, there's even an argument to putting Shannara's Bodyguard on defense. Because if this monster is on defense, even if the enemy does possess Shannara's Bodyguard, there is that 5% chance to get your ultimate, then you give yourself an extra turn, and then you do a strong attack against the enemy, most likely killing one or all of the enemy monsters. So specifically in Team Wars, where all you really want to do is minimize how many coins the enemies wins, this could be a really great strategy. You know, depending where you're at the game, how good your runes are, how good your monsters are, it's not the best strategy, but it's definitely a strategy that can be utilized. But yeah, it's just a phenomenal ultimate attack, especially for offense when you're controlling Shannara's Bodyguard, when you get to use Battle Mage form, when you know it's going to wipe out the enemy monsters. This is just so great. And with that being said, let's move on over to Skills Group 1. And before I say this, let me start off by saying, originally when I saw Shannara's Bodyguard, I didn't think too highly of this monster. I mean, to be honest, I have a bias against tanks, because in terms of offense, you really rarely ever use tanks. I can't remember the last time I used Oros or Agursis. because typically the way battles go is that you're faster than the enemy, you immobilize the enemy, then your attackers do the rest. You know, there's hardly ever reason to bring in a tank that isn't going to be getting a churn in until like the 5th or 6th turn. There's just no reason for it. Many times my deny monster can go twice before my tank even goes once. So for that reason, I have a bias against tanks. Now I'm not saying they're useless, especially if the enemy has ranked up monsters. If they're faster than you, then you can use that tank to take a few hits, but you kind of also run into the similar problem. If you're going up against monsters that are super fast, if they're ranked up and have level 10 runes, then it's highly likely that your tank isn't going to be getting a churn in. And in the case of Shannara's Bodyguard, you're immune to stun. So if that deny monster has a free skill, a possession skill, even when you finally get your churn in, you're going to be immobilized, so you still don't get a churn in. And so I wanted to preface this analysis by giving my bias against tanks. Usually, I understand they're good, but usually, the majority of players won't really have much of a reason to use tanks. But with that being said, I think Shannara's Bodyguard is a little different because he's not a conventional tank. You're not going to be running him with a life rune, 2 life runes, a team life rune. You can, but there's actually a better way to run Shannara's Bodyguard. So let me talk about skills, and then I'll let you know what the best runes are for this monster. And I really have to thank all of my Monster Legends friends for discussing this monster with me, because without you guys I wouldn't have been able to come up to this conclusion. So I would have just brushed off this monster, but because of you guys, and you know who you are, thank you for making me see this monster in a different light, and hopefully I can make some of you guys see Shannara's Bodyguard in a different light also. So with that being said, the first skill we can discuss is Magical Astral Shield, which is skills group 1, applies a 75% shield to one ally, requires cooldown. Single ally, 13 stamina cost, 3 string cooldown, it gives that monster a 75% shield. If you do it to yourself, well then that's a pretty massive shield, not just a big shield. And so specifically if you do want to make Shannara's Bodyguard as a pure tanky monster, then I guess this could be a pretty good skill to utilize. Later he has another skill that gives him taunts, so there's a way to make it work so Shannara's Bodyguard stays alive for a really long time in the game. But I don't know, personally I can't recommend Magical Astral Shield, I just wanted to put it out there for anyone who's interested in utilizing it. So enough with skills group 1, let's talk about skills group 2, Astral Cancel. Deals very heavy magic damage to one enemy, removes positive status effects from one enemy. This skill deals 55 magic based damage to a single enemy monster, it costs 27 stamina, it has no cooldown, so this skill is spammable. If you were ever to get hit with cooldowns activated, you'd have a skill to use, and currently in the magic category the only monster that has cooldowns activated that comes to mind is Cassandra, and then there's monsters from other elements. Montezuma's an earth monster that can do it, Tamaron's a metal monster that can do cooldowns activated, so there's definitely usability for having a zero cooldown skill, and probably in the future more monsters will be released. But for the time being, I really don't think it's necessary, and you could probably do well without running this skill. However, if you want to, it's definitely a viable option. It's spammable and it removes good effects. I love skills that remove good effects, especially when so many enemy monsters can self buff, double damage, life regeneration. There's just so many buffs they can give to themselves. And anyhow, the next skill is Anagram Stun. Deals heavy magic damage to one enemy, applies stun to one enemy, requires cooldown. 50 damage, 29 stamina cost, 1 string cooldown, a single stun skill. It's certainly a good skill that can come in handy in a number of situations. You know, it's just a single 95% accuracy stun skill, but it's hard to say definitely run this skill. So it's going to be a maybe, it's going to be up to you to decide. But as for the skill I can say that's definitely a must have, it's Arcane Great Wash. Applies a 50% shield and removes all negative status effects from all allies, requires cooldown. This is a team skill that only costs 23 stamina. All of your team will get a medium shield and you remove all negative effects from your team. And this is the reason, this skill right here, combined with Shannara's Bodyguard trait, immunity to stun, combined with the rest that he has going for him, his high tanky life, his high power stat, this is the reason this monster is extremely viable and he's different from other tanks. So keep in mind that I said, in the magic category, Cassandra can stun, Uru can stun. In the spirits book, Tempest can stun, Uru can stun, and Lum, the nemesis monster, they can all stun you. So if they're faster than you, it doesn't matter. Make them go faster than you. All you need to do is to make sure that Shannara's Bodyguard goes second. Because if Shannara's Bodyguard goes second, guess what happens? You use this skill to remove all negative effects from your team. So if your teammates got stunned, don't worry about it, the stun is clear, and now they have a medium shield. So now, even if the enemy monsters go after your Shannara's Bodyguard, even if the enemy attacker goes next, guess what? Your monsters have a medium shield. They're going to be able to take the damage, which means they're going to get a churn in, which means you have a really good chance of fighting back. And it's more than just being immune to stun. You know, Lum has a skill that can AoE blind, Uru has a skill that can AoE daze, Cassandra has a skill that can AoE bleed. It doesn't matter, those kind of skills that aren't deny skills, you can completely remove the negative effects and give your team a shield. So this is the reason I'm so excited about this monster. Originally, yeah, I didn't really look too much into the skills, but when I talked to my friends and when I actually looked into what books this monster was in, when I looked more in depth into this monster, Arcane Great Wash it's definitely a must-have, and you can definitely utilize Shannara's Bodyguard in a battle. So I'm just going to talk about runes right now. You want to give this monster either 3 speed runes, and it's really gonna depend. If you're going up against ranked up monsters, then yeah, give this monster 3 speed runes. If they have high level runes and they're ranked up, because you need to make sure Shannara's Bodyguard goes right after the enemy deny monster, right after that Uru, right after that Cassandra, that Tempest, that Lum. However, if your only competition are monsters around your same level, then in that case do not give Shannara's Bodyguard 3 speed runes. Instead, you want to give her 2 speed and a strength, 2 speed and a team life, or 2 speed and a team speed, which myself advocating more towards the 2 speed and a team speed, or 2 speed and a strength. And I say a strength because this monster, like I said, with the ultimate attack, he can pack quite a punch, and he actually has another skill, 70 damage, so even with 1 strength, 1 high level strength, Shannara's Bodyguard has the potential to deal a nice amount of damage out. But definitely be sure to run at least 2 speed on Shannara's Bodyguard. And actually, if you're the kind of person that uses your attacker with 2 speed and a strength, then in that case Shannara's Bodyguard does need the 3 speed runes. Because if not, your attacker is going to be outspeeding Shannara's Bodyguard, and if you do get AoE stunned, then it's going to be pointless, right? Your attacker is going to be stunned, then it's finally Shannara's Bodyguard's turn, but your monster was already stunned, and that's not the point of it. And so essentially, every single person that's watching this video, you have to put the runes on Shannara's Bodyguard to best benefit your playing style and to best benefit the kind of league you're in Monster Legends. But just one final time, Arcane Great Wash, it's just a phenomenal skill. And with that said, we can move on over to Skills Group 3. Great Astral Cancel deals massive magic damage to one enemy, removes positive side effects from all enemies, requires cooldown. So this skill deals 70 damage to a single enemy monster, it only costs 29 stamina, it has a 2-turn cooldown, but aside from being a very strong magic attack, it also removes all positive effects from the enemy monsters. And like you guys have heard me say, I love that. I love when you can remove positive effects, especially when there's so many positive effects the enemies can apply to themselves. And so it goes without saying, you definitely want to run Great Astral Cancel. And once again, this is one reason why you may want to consider giving this monster a strength rune, why you want to consider giving him 2 speed and a strength, because 70 damage and a strength rune combined with his power, that still packs quite a punch. The next skill we have is Great Anagram Stun, deals heavy magic damage to all enemies, 50% chance of applying stun to all enemies, requires cooldown. So we have 45 damage magic based, 40 stamina cost, only a 1-turn cooldown, and it's an AoE stun skill. Unfortunately, it's only a 50% AoE stun. I think if this would have been 100% stun, people would have loved Shannara's Bodyguard, but because it's only 50%, I think a lot of people are just missing how great this monster can be. So ignoring the stun, keep in mind what I said about the ultimate. You get triple damage and an extra turn. Triple damage times 45, that's 135 damage AoE. That is insane. And if the enemy monsters survive for whatever reason, hey, you have a 50% chance to immobilize them. So it's a great skill. I would definitely recommend running Great Anagram Stun. And then last but certainly not least, we have Mystic Shield form. Applies taunt to itself and gains 100% shield, requires cooldown. We have a self skill that costs 15 stamina, has a 4-turn cooldown, you taunt and you give yourself a full shield. Why did Social Point make it so you can't recharge or choose your own skill during the times when you're possessed? That really sucks, because aside from being immune to stun, if possession was still the same as we're used to knowing it, this skill would have been amazing, because considering you're a magic monster and there's so many magic monsters that can possess you, hey, guess what? I don't care about your possession, I'm gonna give myself a full shield and I'm gonna taunt, meaning you guys have to attack me. Don't attack my teammates, attack me. Oh my gosh, Shannara's Bodyguard could have been way better back when possession was just plain old possession, but hey, Shannara's Bodyguard is still really good, and this skill itself is still really good. You taunt and you give yourself a full shield. Even with no life rooms, you know how difficult it's going to be to take out this monster because of that full shield, that 100% shield? At level 100, he has almost 39k life, and then a 39k shield to boot. Oh my gosh, that's insane. Which I think is more than enough, and which is why I'm advocating for not even running a life rune. You can, right? I said at least 2 speed runes. If you want to give him a life rune for the last rune, go for it. But my personal recommendation was for that strength rune, because even with his base life, you give yourself that full shield. Well, I mean, let's just say you do fight a Tempest or an Uru, and they do AoE stun, and then you use the next turn to protect your teammates, right? You you remove negative effects, you give everyone a medium shield, and then on the next turn, you use Mystic Shield form, you're still going to be protecting your team. You don't really need that life rune to protect your team. You're still plenty tanky. You have that medium shield, now you're going to have a full shield. So Shannara's Bodyguard, I underestimated you at first, but you are quite the amazing monster. And I really hope you get released in the team shop for as little as 1,100 coins. I think at that point I would purchase you. For 2.5k coins, I can't purchase you just yet, just because I know monsters do tend to drop. At least the previous bodyguards have dropped. I haven't seen Nishan's Bodyguard or Diamond's Bodyguard yet, but Ingvar's Bodyguard, Atum's Bodyguard, they've definitely dropped in price. And so yeah, let's talk about viable skill sets. Arcane Great Wash, it's a must-have skill. Be sure to run this skill, it'll do you wonders. And then for the other skills, it's really going to come down to preference, it's really going to come down to what you like. So just purely on the fact that this monster has an incredible ultimate, you definitely want to be sure to run the AoE 45 damage attack. And then if you're running one strength rune on this monster, be sure to run Great Astral Cancel because this is definitely going to deal a lot of damage. But if you're going with a team life or a single life or the 3 speed rune route, then in that case you might want to go with Anagram Stun just to have another immobilizing skill. Or you could potentially run Magical Astral Shield to protect yourself or to protect a teammate, and run Mystical Shield form, once again just to protect your teammates. Well, really, Mystical Shield form, this works whether or not you have a life rune. So for example, my personal recommendation would be Arcane Great Wash, Great Astral Cancel, Great Anagram Stun, Mystical Shield form, and this would be with 2 speed runes and a team speed rune, or 2 speed runes and a strength rune. And I think I'm going to be going with the strength rune if I ever get this monster. And going back with what I said about putting this monster on defense, he can work on defense. At the same time though, it might work against you. Can you imagine doing Battle Mage form and the AI was to run a self skill like Mystical Shield form or Arcane Great Wash? That would really suck. And so for that reason, if you wanted to run this monster purely for defensive purposes, I would recommend not giving him 2 of these skills. Give him either Mystical Shield form or give him either Arcane Wash, but don't give him both. Because on defense, if he was to get his ultimate, you would really want him to do Great Anagram Stun or Great Astral Cancel, because Great Astral Cancel, this is pretty much guaranteed to wipe out enemy monsters. That's going to be 210 damage. And Great Anagram Stun, 135 damage. That might take out 2 enemy monsters, 1 enemy monster out, 3 of them. But yeah, that's mainly we're just making a build primarily for defensive purposes. And so with all that being said, that is going to conclude my analysis on Shannara's Bodyguard. I gotta say, I'm sorry I underestimated you, but you turned out to be quite amazing, and I look forward to purchasing you in a future Team Shop update. And of course, I really hope everyone watching this video really enjoyed it. I hope I was able to shed some new light on Shannara's Bodyguard. If you discounted him at first like I did, maybe now you'll see he's quite good. So I'm really eager to hear your guys' thoughts. Please let me know whatever's going on through your mind in the comments below. Be sure to let me know whether you think this monster is good or not so good, and why. The why really matters. A lot of time people will just comment, he sucks, he's great, but I want to know the why, because that's what's the most interesting about your guys' comments. So once again, whatever thoughts are going on through your guys' mind, let me know in the comments below. Once again, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm Ermysenigma. Best of luck to all of you on your Monster Legends adventures, and like always, remember to dream big and pursue your passions.